you are a B2B service-based business owner and you are looking to gain more clients, create more impact and more revenue in your business, tune in to Amplify Your Marketing Message with Christine Campbell Rapin. Every week, we're going to take you through how to build an audience of buyers, mastering your marketing message, and making offers. You've likely heard the proverb from African heritage that says, if you want to go fast, go solo. If you want to go far, go with others. Well, today I want to talk about the importance in my own personal journey of hiring and committing to mentors to manage the hardest 6 inches of the business journey, which is the one that is traversed between your 2 ears, your mindset, your game in the silence that you have to tackle, not just on day one, but every day, minute by minute, hour by hour, year by year. Welcome to Amplify Your Marketing Message. I guarantee you're going to want to listen to this episode more than once and share it to someone you know. Because this is something that wasn't covered in the highlight reel, it wasn't covered in the business books, and it wasn't covered openly until I was at a much higher level of revenue and in more elite rooms. And I want to give you that gift now, where you are right now in your journey, because I know it will serve you well. I had a lot of advantages when I first started my business because I had business skills. I have 2 degrees from great universities that are well respected internationally for training future business leaders, teaching them on brass tacks. I can write a P&L and accounting. I can understand macroeconomics, microeconomics, simply put, supply and demand. I have studied human behavior and HR. I have talked about and learned from some of the best marketers in the world, and I've understood sales, systems, and most importantly, how it all comes together. Most business owners don't have that when they start. They must equip themselves with it on the journey in order to create an enduring success story. However, I will also say, while I had all these business skills, I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to have my own path to blaze, but truthfully, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I kept saying to people, same thing when I undertook my MBA, if I just knew what I would write my dissertation on, I would start. But I was waiting to be clear, to be certain. Sound familiar? Well, I tell you, 5 years into running and owning Clear Acceleration Inc., which is the company that supports this podcast and supports our clients around the world, I never imagined to have the business I have now. I didn't get up out of bed one random day and have this massive download or this massive idea saying, I will go be a consultant. I never had this inkling that I could be paid very well to sit shotgun on somebody else's business dreams. Truthfully, I was not that creative. What I realized early in my business journey, when I had started into the path of entrepreneurship and I started in network marketing, I wanted to create additional revenue. That was my goal. And I knew how to move product, I knew how to make connections, and I knew how to build relationships. And that pathway led me to, of course, meeting tons of people. And through the connections, through the conversations, I kept hearing this statement. Can you show me how to connect the dots? Can you tell me what you're actually doing? Can you show me behind the curtain of the highlight reel? Because I am working 60 hours a week or 50 hours a week or 40 hours a week, and I don't have any strong, repeatable success yet. And yet I'm watching you work a fraction of that. And by fraction, I mean 1 hour a day was my commitment to myself when I started. You're making money. How are you doing it? And it led to conversations over glasses of wine or coffee, depending on how you know me and where we're socially connected. And I kept saying business is simple, elegantly simple, in fact. 2 things predict your revenue, 3 things non-negotiable. And I would tell people, and the light bulb would go off. And eventually, through many of these conversations, people kept saying, it'd be great if I could pay you to help me. And I kept saying this. That's weird. I don't understand why you'd want to pay me. It's not that I had any issue being paid. It's just that I didn't see this as a business opportunity. Just was incomprehensible to my mind. Until I had a key conversation with somebody who I would say is a mentor. I have paid their services. And they said this to me in a session that I attended. Never look for clients. Look for problems to solve, ways you can support, and people you can contribute to. When you do that, you will always have clients. You will always be sought after, and you will always bring value to the world. And that appealed to me. And when he said that to me, I wrote it down on a Post-it note. It stayed as a Post-it note for the first 2 years of my business in my workspace. To be a North Star, to say, if I just keep staying in the game and I keep these principles front of mind, I think I could do something great, but I don't know what it is yet. I was starting to do podcasting as a guest. I was a co-host for somebody else's platform because I wanted to understand this idea of conversation. Because I thought when I was observing the business world, I noticed two things. I observed, and observation, as you've heard here before on this podcast, is the most important skill you have in the world of business because it creates opportunity and it helps you be opportunistic. First thing I observed was that once you've made the decision to start a business, nobody was helping you figure out the early steps. What do you actually do? And most importantly, what do you do next in sequence to build momentum? Everyone was talking about, you from a guru perspective of I've made millions of dollars, I've been in business 30 years, and your evolution and a starting gate were just incompatible to me. But I noticed that in the marketplace. Second thing that happened is I really thought that people were being sold sizzle. They were being sold the promise. They were being sold ease. They were being sold something I just have never seen in real life. Because anybody who's built a multi-million-dollar business has a lot of grit, a lot of tenacity, and a lot of ability to manage the 6 inches between their ears. There's no shortcut to this. And yet people kept saying, snap your fingers and it's possible. It's not possible. The failure rate of business is massive. The fail rate in the first 5 years, also terrifying. And part of it is because people were being led with the wrong conversations. And so my observation led me to reflect as a human. What does that mean for me? And I thought, well, there's 2 ways I can contribute to the conversation. Ignore it or solve it and play a contributing role. And so I made a decision that I would play with the skills I had and I would be open-minded to how they could be of service and be part of sparking new conversations and creating new tables that I could invite people to be sitting at so we could rise together. But I still didn't have this very concrete business idea. I think that was really the point. I didn't sit in my ego. I didn't sit in my own grandiose ideas of what makes me awesome. I was just open-minded. And I let the market dictate how I could serve it. I was recording this podcast with a friend of mine. It was not about my business. It was about me as a business owner managing the sandwich generation. What it was like having, at that time, teenage kids in the home and parents that were aging and my responsibilities having to shift as a caregiver, not from children, but to my own parents. And what that was like. It was a conversation I felt very much I wanted to have. And in that conversation, in the first 5 minutes of the pre-interview, I found myself in a situation where somebody says, well, how much does it cost? And I said, for what? She said, to hire you. And I'm like, I don't understand the question. She said, well, I want to hire you. How much does it cost? I said, well, what do you think you're hiring me for? She told me, I need to figure out what to say, what room to get into, and I want to commercialize my business. And I have been trying to do that for years, and I can't. But it seems to me like you know how to do this. So I'd like to hire you to teach me how to do that. And I was like, wow, I can actually do that. She said, great. So tell me, how much does it cost? And I threw out a number, She said, great, I'll go get my credit card. And I thought, I don't even know how to process this credit card, but that was another problem to solve. What's important here was I listened to the marketplace. I had somebody say, that's a value. I want to exchange money for that. And that's where I think most business owners go wrong. You've got to be sure that there's a market for your service instead of you saying, I will go create the demand. I stepped into something that was already needed, and I was able to meet it in a moment that was short term. That person who hired me has become a client off and on for the last 4 years. It comes down to whose voice are you listening to? I had that individual who told me, don't look for clients, look for people to serve, ways to support, and things you can contribute to. And I was in a moment where I was in that space. It was the beginning of the consulting firm that I now run. And once you have one client and you start to win with them, it becomes a dopamine rush. I want to serve more. I want to do this again. I want to be sought after for this because I know I can really contribute. And that led me to realize that while I had the business skills and now I had my first client, I didn't know how to create this consistently because I wasn't really sure how I had got it in the first place. So I looked to hire a mentor. I hired my first mentor when I had one client. And here's what I want you to hear. I made that commitment to that mentor for a 2-year contract from the very first hire. My first mentor. This was tens of thousands of dollars over the course of 2 years. And I knew, this is why I made the commitment. I knew they had similar skills with me, but more advanced. And I knew that they had already created a multi-6-figure business. And that's what I had wanted at the time. This mentor helped me lay some of the basic foundations. They helped me build a website. They helped me set up my email marketing. They helped me understand the importance of choosing a marketing lane, and they encouraged me to pursue speaking as a lead gen strategy. These were very important milestones that I needed. And the reason I made such a long-term commitment to them was because I knew my business would evolve. And it would evolve at a faster rate with somebody who could guide me than if I had to figure it all out on my own. I bankrolled this myself from savings. And I want to talk about that for just a second before I continue the story of mentorship, because you need to be prepared to invest in your business. You cannot expect clients to spend with you if you're not willing to spend on yourself. It's incongruent in the system here. You have to think about this, and from day one, set aside a budget for the growth of your business. There was a Harvard stat that came out many years ago that to start up a business that didn't include physical product, physical location, so I'm talking consulting, something that is online, something that is lighter in its asset build, still needed at least $85,000 USD to get started in the first 5 years. So if you're thinking you will bootstrap with no money to your business, no mentorship, no support, I honestly think you should give your head a shake, rethink that, and decide if this is a path you want to pursue. You have to fund this. So you can fund it from savings, you can fund it from debt, but you need to fund it. That is non-negotiable. It's table stakes. So I committed 2 years to this mentor and I started down the path. And the reason I did it was an acceleration choice. I had the skill set on business, but I didn't have the way to play in the current marketplace as a consultant. But if I knew if I kept on my own, I would be unrecognizable in 5 years. I didn't have 5 years to make this work. I needed to make it work in 2 to 3. And so I started. Over time, the vision of what I wanted for my business changed. It continued to evolve. And at some point, I recognized an incongruency with what my business mentor wanted for my business and what I wanted for my business. And I had to choose very certainly, whose business do I want to build? I think both ideas had merit, but which did I personally want? And this is an important piece of this puzzle, my friends. You've got to always check in with yourself. Whose business am I building? When I recognized that some of the decisions I wanted to make were not supported by the coach from I think that's not a priority point of view, I had to decide if our paths would continue as my contract came up for renewal, or I was ready to move into a new direction. I made the decision to put my turn signal on and change lanes. And I am very grateful for that mentor. He taught me a lot. We're still good personal friends. I still love to see their business thriving, and I'm celebrating them and how they contributed to my success story. But as I started to evolve, I thought I need different mentors. I needed to be challenged in different ways. And I'm very clear here that I've used the word mentor, not coach. I was looking for people that would bring three things to the equation. What happens? How do I do it? And when do I do it? I needed direction, and a mentor will tell you and show you, and a coach will question. I needed mentors, and I am a mentor. People hire me for what comes next. How do I do it? When do I do it? And to a high degree, also accountability for it happening. I don't hire people for accountability because I bring accountability in my own DNA. I have good systems, I have good habits, I was trained those corporately. But what I do need is the what, the how, and the when. And so I needed to be in rooms with bigger mentors who had businesses at bigger stages, because I was now pursuing not just a side hustle, but a business I wanted to build to more than $1 million in revenue. I wanted to build a sellable asset. I wanted to get back into not just leading clients and leading myself, but leading team. I wanted to help other people write their own paychecks in all directions. And so I chose to hire other mentors. Some of the most important lessons those next level mentors told me are these. Number one, do the hardest thing you're afraid of right now. Number two, you can do hard things. Don't make the easy stuff hard, because the hard stuff will kick your butt anyway. I also learned this from my mentors at a bigger level. What you do today matters. Stop planning for always a future exercise, a future event, a future moment. Live now. Make decisions for where you're going. And this piece of the puzzle, you belong in every room. You bring something unique to every room. You have to ask for what you want. You have to put in the effort to get moving, to have the lived experience of what you want. And you are the spark, and there are fuel sources. Starting a business in hindsight is the first major hurdle, but what comes after is what matters most. What matters is how you manage the 6 inches. What matters is the fact that you should be curating whose voice is inside your head. What matters most is that you are looking to be in rooms where you're mentored, not just coached. And when you're looking at mentors, what mattered really importantly to me is, do I like how they live their life? Not just how do they run their business. I have mentors who are very family focused, who love to travel, who love rewards, who love to gift generously. I watch them be not choosing balance, because I think truly balance is not the goal. It's not the goal for me personally. I want to be intentionally in imbalance around the things that bring me life, that makes my life worth living. And that means I'm all in on this piece, and I'm all in on this piece, and I'm all in on this piece. Doesn't mean I'm trying to do it all. I'm being intentionally in balance and shifting between my priorities. And I hired mentors to show me how they do it. And I also had this final thing in every mentor I've had: 100% openness to tell me on my BS. Tell me what I need to hear, not what I want to hear. And remind me do the damn work. This is what goes next. This is why you're doing it. This is when you'll look to do it again and again and again and again. Mentors are a big part of the journey, my friends. Invest in them. Serve a marketplace that is asking you to serve it. And really commit to recognizing that you have to stay decided on your path. Thanks. You're here to do great things. How can you step into your greatness today, and who do you need mentoring you on the ride? If you don't have a current mentor and you want to build to $1 million and you need foundations, you need accountability, and you need a business mentor that's moving fast, you should come connect to me. ChristineCampbellRapin.com. Let's have a conversation and see if there's a fit to serve you. Because it would be my pleasure, honor, and privilege to run shotgun on your business dreams. It's go time. I'll see you soon. That's a wrap on another amazing episode of Amplify Your Marketing Message with me, your host, Christine Campbell Rapin. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss another great episode. And be sure to visit ChristineCampbellRapin.com/podcast to get a free resource on how to master your marketing message. We'll see you all